Today I'm kicking off by showing you where I like to come in every once in a while to practice a few tunes or even just to see what I'm thinking. This is the College of Lake County, just a few miles from my house, and they have all these piano rooms, practice rooms, and yeah, if I want to hear the chords, I'll use a piano room if the students aren't really around. And it seems very quiet today for some reason. And on the other side of the hall, there are these little cubicles. They're called just little practice studios, and they're very tiny, 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 which is good. And so I set myself up in here today, and I've been doing this kind of thing since years ago, early 90s. I used to go into my old college, which was DePaul, in Chicago, and this was just a little place to have a think and just get away and just have nothing to think about but music and all of that. So now I'm going to turn this around. So sometimes, even though I have a house and I could be upstairs in my hallway, which I am often with you all, or I can be downstairs, I can be outside, which I've done too on our porch, and still I like to come into this very, very tight little room here, and there's nothing to think about but music and what you're hearing, yeah, I bet a lot of you also have your places that you go where you just don't want the rest of the family hearing you, however big or small the family is, or you just really need to treat it like a job. You get out of the house and go into a separate spot. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about, there was a couple of different suggestions, and one of them was to do the tune that followed the Old Maids of Galway, which was called Lizzie in the Low Ground. And but actually today I'm going to slip back. Somebody had asked about a tune called The Fruit and the Snoot back in April. That would be one of our patrons, Donna. And so I'm going to talk about that a little bit today. So this was a unnamed tune, which I decided to call The Fruit and the Snoot. And which was an experience that I had, which I told an audience about just once, and they were so horrified, I'm not going to tell the story again. So, yeah, but anyway, The Fruit and the Snoot. But where this began was somebody had asked me to write some music for a play. We'll have to think about which play this was. I've done a couple. And they wanted some mad kind of a dance. The actors on stage were just going to go wild and crazy at one point, but they really wanted it just wacky and kind of wild. So I'm going to play this tune for you first, but I just want to show you what's going on as you're listening to it. So I'm just cleverly going along here with my pen, or am I? So I've got a tune here that's going to be in 7. So here's my first measure, just timing wise. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And yeah, and I almost will end up kind of going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2 as I count this, but you'll see there are 7 notes. They're all 8 notes. It's in 7. And the melody will switch back and forth from being 3 and 4. I'm kind of calling this 4, but I'm kind of tapping it out, 1 beat here, 1 beat there. So it's 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. Da, 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 da. And I followed up that measure with a measure of, let's see now, okay, of 4, And funny enough, when I did do this, I didn't so much think of it as 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, but kind of 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 1. Okay, that's not very good. So let's count it out. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And yeah, so I'm kind of going daddle da daddle da da daddle 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 da daddle da daddle 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 da daddle da daddle 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 da daddle da daddle 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 da. Now, all of that is just to show you that this tune is not so easy to think of without the melody. So with that, I'm going to turn this around and I'm going to play the first part for you. That is the first part. And let me break that down for you. So the first measure goes. And I'm going to play that again. Tapping there loud so you can just hear that. And then the second measure goes. And I'm really dropping that there because it is not going to have, 8 notes in that measure. It's really just having 7. And again, it's and that's a grouping of 4 and then 3. So from the first measure, and I'll do that again. The third measure goes, and we're back now to 3 and a group of 4, where I'm kind of going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2. I'll play it once more. And then that goes into a fourth measure, and those notes are. Now, I'm going a group of 4 and a group of 3. Yeah, and I'm stretching back to get that E flat, back to E, back to E, and then G sharp. Right. And when I do them all back to back, I'm going to play those 4 measures, and then the first part means that I'm going to play those 4 measures again, and then that will be 8. And here I go. And they're very specific notes, aren't they? And my bow is helping me to play this melody, and it helps me to play it faster. And so let me show you what I'm doing with my bow. These are separate notes to begin with. Now I can go up, so I'm going to go up. and then I'm going to tie these two together. So there's just one slur in that first measure, and it's the last two notes. So it's down, up, down, up, a slur. So. And I can just play that a few times. My other option is that I can do a slur between the group of 3 and the group of 4. And I could keep them all separate. And slur. Or I can do a slur at the end again with those last two notes. Interesting, right? This is a whole other thing, and I'm going to throw down some bowings for you this week. So if you watch, you'll see different ideas for the slurring as I'm going along. So I'm just going to play this first part a few times. And it's not really an Irish tune, but you know, being the Irish player, it's hard not to Irish it up. So you can see that I like putting in little grace notes. So I could even do all of those. And then you work away at getting yourself up to a speed. So I'm going to play the first part and just maybe kind of speed it up each time. And here it goes. So now I'm just going to play the second part for you, because you can see that these are not difficult notes, and yet you're playing in sevens, which is not normal. And I do think this has been around for a while, a bit of fascination with these different timings that are out in folk music and the world. I always think that Andy Irvine brought a lot of this idea of different lengths of measures, different timings. Definitely, yeah, definitely. So I think he would probably say that it was Balkan music, but maybe a bit of Greek and maybe a little bit of even Breton music. And I think Kevin Burke also has been interested in the Breton tunes, which do flirt with these ideas of changing up how many notes you can have in a measure. I'm thinking too of, there was a great group there just a few years ago with Sylvain Barou and a bunch of people there. Tola Custy, I know, was in that group. Carroll Patrick, that plays the concertina. Let me see, did I ever write his name down? Oh, Rinn, yes, Patrick Rinn, and Paul McSherry, I think, used to play the guitar with them. And they definitely flirted with all these Breton tunes, so they know their Irish music, and they have their Irishisms, and they're making up tunes and also grabbing tunes from those traditions and bringing them into Irish music. So here's the second part of what I did. Again, I think it was kind of supposed to be kind of a whirling dervish going on stage during a play, and that this tune would kind of be a mad tune to do. And I was lucky enough at some point later on to put it on the album called On the Offbeat, and to combine it with the tune that's called On the Offbeat. And it's very fun to just kind of play around with, like I say, the number of notes in a measure, and how long does a melody last, and when do you get rid of it. So I've kind of always played around with it now, and definitely friends have too. I know that John Doyle was very excited one day and just came up and said, I wrote a tune, it's in 11. And so, but when you think about this, it can throw you off and go, oh my God, how do you sort that out? But I think anytime you get past and even up to 8, these combining of notes, so you know that you can have 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2 for a measure, and that's really 8 eighth notes there. And I think that when you do get into something like 11, you might be doing something like 4 notes, maybe 4 notes. Let's say you added 3 to that. That's 11. So you'd have a tune that was going 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. And it's kind of, it's finishing ideas, and yeah, you'd be playing around with how you do that. And for all I know, it could also be, it could be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. That made sense. So this is a nice world to get into. I do think for fiddlers, it does help your bowing. Just because, yeah, everything can reverse on itself. It's demanding something else happens, and it demands some thought. And I do feel like when I leave a tune like this, and let's say I do go to play the Old Maids of Galway from last week, more connected to my bow. So that's a good reason to try it, and definitely for the composers among you, let's see if you'd like to do a tune in 7, or your choice. And it could also be that the first part of the tune is in 7 and the second part is like pretty much normal in 4/4. So here's the second part of The Fruit and the Snoot. And it's really just played the one time, and then it would go back into the first part. So here's that second part again. And I think on the recording, I like playing the first part actually twice through. And yes, it was just and speaking of that recording, while I don't have Katrina Mackay on the harp playing that selection as such, I do have another selection that we did at the time that album was coming out. We were just rehearsing. Katrina Mackay, of course, is the great harpist from Scotland, and we played a set of 3 tunes. And actually, funny enough, the middle of the 3 tunes was a tune called Bar Hopping, and you'd find that in my first book of tunes. And what was fun about it was, yeah, well, you'd have to take a look, and I also will add that tune now that I'm talking about it. But it was the idea of just kind of skipping over a bar so that the last bar was actually the start of the second part of the tune. And there's another thing that can happen with tunes. Although, have I heard anyone play this tune? No, but we had a riot. So there you go. It's worth doing. And all right, so I wish you luck this week. Again, I'll put down Katrina Mackay and myself playing that. And you can see a wonderful, wonderful harpist. And look out for the middle tune and what happens with it. And yes, and look around in the world for that old group called Guidewires. And of course, look for anything that Andy Irvine is in, whether it's the old record with Mosaic or Patrick Street. All his bands have been, yeah, super, super all the way back to Planxty. And you can hear what he has done rhythm-wise and chosen to do there. Sylvain Barou, by the way, the flute player that I mentioned from Guidewires, has a lovely duet with a fellow named Ronan Pellin, and lots of Irish tunes, but also some of the great Breton tunes. So good luck this week.